Welcome to my channel, and I'm back with you once again with another video of Microsoft Flight Simulator 24. Nowadays, I'm exploring the Flybywire Airbus A380, and in this regard, I'm making a series of videos of this plane so that I can just break down all the information related to a flight into different videos which will make it easy for you to look for a specific information on my channel. So this video is going to be a complete tutorial of the Flybywire Airbus A380 in which I will do a flight from Dubai to Islamabad. So in this video, I will take you through all the procedures like how to start this plane from the cold and dark state, how to perform takeoff, fly this plane on autopilot, and how to perform an ILS approach and landing. I will give you all the links in the description, and you can just go and follow any of the link as per your learning curve for this plane. So every time when I'm making a video, I'm making it for the beginner, so that's why I just try to keep things simple and to the point, because I assume that the people with little or no information of the flight simulation are watching these videos. So I enable them to go through the procedures and fly this plane. So today I will be doing this flight from Dubai to Islamabad, and the plane is at the Dubai International Airport. So before I begin this video, let me just give you a little bit of introduction of the cockpit, because you will be interacting with lots of controls. So you should be really familiar with all the parts of the cockpit. This is the overhead panel, and this overhead panel has got the controls for the fuel pumps, for the hydraulic pumps. These are the controls for the lights, and then you have the external power, the battery buttons, and then you have these knobs for the GPS. This part of the plane is known as the FCU, which is a flight control unit. You interact with autopilot using this control, and you can change the different modes of the autopilot. Then this is EFS, which is Electronic Flight Instrument System, on the left hand side, and on the right hand side you can adjust the altimeter with this control, and you can change different views on the navigation display, which is over here and over here. Then lots of screens. So this is the prime flight display on the left hand side and on the right hand side. Then this is the navigation display, or the ND, over here and over here. Now these two screens are the ECAMs, which is Electronic Centralized Aircraft Monitor. This is known as the upper ECAM, and this is known as the lower ECAM. Then you have these two screens. They are known as the multifunction display. You can interact with the flight management system and the transponder, and then you can just do many things over here related to the flight with these screens. You actually interact with the flight management guidance system using these multifunction displays. Then on the pedestal, you have thrust levers, and then you have the control for the flaps, for the spoilers, and then you have radio communication over here, and that's it, plus some light controls and the brake. Now let's press shift space, get to this view, and let's get some power in the plane. This plane, every plane almost, if you're flying the jet engines, they have 4 different power sources. One is the battery. Obviously, batteries remain on throughout the flight, so you have to turn on the batteries in order to get some power in the plane. Then once the plane is on the ground and the engines are not running, the power source is the GPU, which is known as the ground power unit, and you have these 4 controls for the external power. And once you start the pushback, or just before the pushback, you have to disconnect the GPU, and then the external power will not be available. For this, you have this option, which is APU, auxiliary power unit. You have to turn on the auxiliary power unit, which is a generator at the back of the plane, and it supplies power to the plane. So once the APU is up and running, you disconnect the external power, you start the pushback, and after the pushback, once you start the engines, then you have to turn off the APU, because then you will have the power from the engines. So let's get some power in the plane. You see these 4 buttons, battery 1, and that's it. So if you turn on these 4 battery switches, you will see some power in the plane. Now the external power is already connected, but if the external power is not connected, you can turn on this EFB, or the electronic flight bag. Let me just show it to you. You go to the ground services, and over here you can see the ground power unit is connected, which is GPU. So you can also disconnect it, but it's right now connected. So if you don't see anything over here on the external power, right now you can see it says available. So you can just like turn on the external power, and that's it. So you have some power. Make sure that the thrust levers are in the idle position. The flaps are retracted. The ground spoilers are also disarmed, and the gear lever is down. So, and the wipers are off. That's it. Because if you get some power in the plane, the wipers will start working. So you have to make sure that the wipers are off. That's it. Now you have some power in the plane, and I can now start configuring the EFB and the FMS for the flight. So over here you will see these three knobs. This is actually ADIRS, which is Air Data Inertial Reference System. This actually provides the GPS coordinates to the flight management guidance system. You have to turn on these knobs. You have to set them to nav. I think if I press 8, I will get this view, and Shift S, I will go back. So you have to move these knobs to nav, and you can see the numbers are here, IR 1, 2, and 3. So this is the sequence 1, 2, and 3. Now if I press Shift 8, I will just go back to this point. Now you will see you will have some information on the prime flight display and the navigation display. If I go to the settings, and if I think this is, no, not this one, same options. I always forget. Realism. So over here you have this ADIRS align time. So you can change it to instant, fast, or real. So for real, it will take 6 to 7 minutes for the IRS alignment to be completed. Right now you can see the IRS alignment is there because I've set it to instant. And fast, it takes around about 2 to 3 minutes. That's it. So you can change the settings from here. Now I have already made the flight plan, and I will just import this flight plan in the EFB. I will not go into the flight planning part and the detailed configuration of the EFB and the FMS because I've already covered it in the video. I will give you a link in the description, and you can just go and follow that video. So let's get the flight plan. Import sim brief data, and you have Dubai Islamabad, alternate is OPLA, which is Lahore, and you have the weather information. Now if you press this option, you will see the operational flight plan, and over here you have the ground services. So let's get the jet bridge and baggage and the catering. So now you can see that the ground services have started and the jetway is getting connected to the plane. And that's it. I know, this error happens. Although I'm using medium graphic settings, but every time when I'm making a video, this thing happens because I think I'm also running the video capturing software on the system. I think I should get the external one, maybe today or tomorrow, but that's it. Okay, so now the ground services are being carried out, and now I can get the fuel. So if you go to this tab in the ground services, you can get the fuel. So now the refuel time again, if you set to real, takes 1 minute because there's I think already fuel in the plane, but it takes a lot of time. Instant, it's done instantly, so I will just refuel the plane. Oh, it's already there. 46 tons or 46,400 kilograms. Now for the payload, again you can set to real, which will take 39 minutes. Fast, it will be 8 minutes, and instant. So you can change. So for this video, I'm using this option, instant. By the way, you can press this button, you can also get the readings. And you can press this button to start the boarding. And now the passengers are there, 471, and the cargo is there. And the zero fuel weight. And then you have the zero fuel weight center of gravity. That's it. Now it's time to configure the FMS. So let's go to the FMS and let's go to this option, initialization. You can use this option as well, or you can press in it over here as well. Let's get the company flight plan. It will take some time, 3 to 4 seconds or maybe 5 seconds. And now the company flight plan received. I can just like pick this option and insert, and that's it. Now this plane doesn't pick up the wind information, so you have to enter the trip wind. Let's go over here to the operational flight plan, and you will see the average wind. So it's 008. This is the speed, and this is the heading. So let's enter 8. That's it. Now let's set the departure. So operational flight plan, if I go to this option routing, I will get this flight plan. So 30 left and DevMo 4F. 30 left, DevMo 4F, and insert temporary flight plan. And for Islamabad International Airport, it's 28 right, Kalmi 1A. To it right, approaches ILS. 28 right, 28 right, sorry. And via, I'll just keep, I think it's through ISDO, yes. And Kalmi 1A, that's it. Now let's check the flight plan, whether it's a good flight plan or not. Actually, flight plans are tricky. You have to be really familiar with this route. So now you can see this is the correct flight plan. So via ISDO. Because every airport has got a different arrival procedure and approach procedures. So you should be familiar with this airport, because Islamabad is my home city. So I'm really familiar with it because I've been flying a lot since 2018. So let's go to this option ARC, and now this is there. Let's go to init. And for the fuel and load, you have to enter it manually over here. So if you go to this option and you go to the payload, you will get the zero fuel weight, which is 348 tons or 348,496 kilograms. So I will enter 348.5. I will round it up. So let's enter it over here, 348.5, enter. And the zero fuel weight center of gravity, it's 34.5. That's it. And the block fuel is, let's go to this option fuel. And the block fuel is 46.4 tons. You always round it up. Somebody asked me that why you round it up, because these settings are required for the takeoff. So for the takeoff, if you are giving little bit of extra power, then it's safe, rather than giving less value and giving less power to the engines for the takeoff. So that's why you always round it up, the values. Entry out of range, I actually entered the wrong zero fuel weight over here. That's why this thing was appearing over here. Otherwise, it's good. Actually, I've got very noisy neighbors. I live in an apartment, and just like a month back, I have some noisy neighbors. So at times I'm distracted. Sorry for this. Okay. So I really have to edit my videos a lot, because at just like at any instance, some kid just starts crying or yelling. This is funny. Okay, so I think if in my video, if you hear any kid, kindly excuse me for that. I'm actually experiencing the real life flight experience, because every time when you fly, there's always a kid who's crying. So now you have the fuel and the load, and for the takeoff performance, you need sim brief. So if I press tab, and I can get this option over here, you can see the sim brief dispatch system is there. I've installed it for the Microsoft Flight Simulator. You can also install it. I will give you a link in the description in which I've shown you how to install it, so you can get it. So now if you go to this takeoff tab, you can get the takeoff performance. And right now you can see the thrust settings, toga and flex. Bleed will be, I will set it to auto. Anti-I is set to auto. The wind is there. I can click this button, populate the weather. And flex assume temperature enabled. So it will be a reduced thrust. And improved climb, enable and calculate. So now I have all the speeds. So let's enter V1. as I've told you before, I've actually covered this thing in one of the videos. So the link is there in the description. So you can just go and follow it, because I'm just trying to save time. And the flex is 66 degrees centigrade. So let's enter 66 and press enter. That's it. And for trimmable horizontal stabilizer, you have to get the gross weight center of gravity. Let's press this button. You get this gross weight center of gravity, which is 35. That's it. And press enter. And transition altitude is 13,000 for this flight. That's it. Now I can get the checklist over here on the screen on the upper ECAM. You see this control over here? Checklist. So the checklist is there, and you can just scroll through the checklist using these buttons up and down. So first of all, cockpit preparation, just click it, and the first option is gear pins and covers. So let's check it. They're removed and fuel quantity is there. So as now the fueling is complete, I can turn on the seatbelt signs. So this is the control for the seatbelt. So let's turn on the seatbelt signs and plus no mobile, set to auto, and let's arm the emergency exit lights. That's it. I can also set the strobe to auto. This is actually a white blinking light. It's required throughout the flight. So if you set it to auto, then after the takeoff it turns on, and once you land it turns off. Otherwise it's not required when you're taxiing or during the pushback. The beacon is a red light which blinks in the night. It's actually an indicator which tells the ground crew that you're going to start the engines. So if I change the time, yeah, you can see it's blinking. So now as I will be starting the engine, so that's why the ground crew will know that I'm ready for the flight. Let's change the time again back to, it was 11:55. Anyhow, that's it. Then I can also turn on the nav light. So let's again go out and change the time. And let's see, where is the nav light? So you have the nav lights on the wings. This is the green light. So if any plane, especially in the night, sees this green light, so it will know that this plane is going towards its right side. And over here you will see this red light. So the plane knows that this plane is going towards its left side. That's it. And you then have the logo light. Let's turn it on, and this is the logo light. That's it. So I can again change the time. Yeah, okay. So that's it. So now the lights are on, and the baroref. So let's adjust the EFS. So if I press comma, yeah, you will get the readings. Now you can see we have the latest or the current settings. I think it's NEG is there. Let me check if it is correct. What is as per the operational flight plan? Let me just... Niner. Yeah, that's correct. I think this will disappear. You see this NEG if you don't have the correct readings for the altimeter, but let's see. So I have adjusted the baroref. Let's check it, and checklist complete. That's it. Then again press checklist, and then before the start. So it's not required right now. So after the pushback, I will just go through this before start checklist, and I can just press checklist again and it will just disappear. Now the altitude for the cruise, it's basically flight level 390 or 39,000 feet. As I'm not communicating with the ATC, so I can straight away set to 39,000 feet as the plane will be climbing in the manage mode. So that's why it will follow all the constraints. I will just explain it to you right now. What is that? Now you have this oxygen supply for the crew. That's it. So let's turn it on, and then these are the controls for the fuel pumps. So let's turn on the fuel pumps. And that's it. Now it's time to turn on the APU because as I told you before, I will be starting the pushback and we have to disconnect the GPU, but we still need some power in the plane. So you can turn on the APU and then you can start the APU. Now make sure that the ground services are complete. So go to this option and you can see all the doors are closed except for this one because the jet bridge is connected. So I can just disconnect the jet bridge and this door will be also closed. That's it. Now the APU is running. You will see this N1 and N2. This is basically the rotation. And this is exhaust gas temperature. So once you have the APU available, you will get the power from the APU. And then the APU bleed, it's actually pressurized air which is used to turn on the engines and required for the air conditioning. So right now there's no APU bleed as well. Once the APU is on, then I will turn on the APU bleed. That's it. So for the Airbus planes, all the buttons should be black. It means everything is good. But if you see some color, green, white or orange, then it means you have to address it. So right now you can see that for the engines, there is for a generator, it's showing fault. Because right now, the engines are not on. So once I'll turn on the engines, then this will also disappear. So now you can see the APU is available. There is this green light. And if I press this button over here, I will also get the APU information, or you can see you get the voltage from the APU. That's it. And you can also see it over here. So you're getting voltage from the external as well. And that's it. And from the APU as well. So external is on. I can turn it off. So now the external shows available and I can go to this option over here and I can disconnect the ground power. Now avail is not even shown over here. And you can see it has disappeared. Now you only have the power from the APU and nothing from the engines. That's it. So I can just press it again and that's it. Now the doors are closed. That's good. Parking brake is on. I have to turn off the parking brake in order to start the pushback. So this plane has a built-in pushback system. So I can just turn it on, confirm, and I can call the tug. And with this, I can release the parking brakes. That's it. I'm actually using a Thrustmaster TC quadrant, and it is configured for this plane Airbus A400M. And because it also has got 4 levers for the thrust, 4 engines. So that's why I will give you a link in the description. So if you don't know how to configure the Thrustmaster TC quadrant for this plane, you can just go and watch that video and you will be able to configure it. So now I can start the pushback. Pushback is a bit tricky over here. You can change the speed of the tug. So everything is looking good so far. I can turn on the APU bleed as well. Now if I move this button or this knob, you can see it stops. I don't know. This thing is problematic. You can again increase. So if I move this knob all the way to the left, I can get the airport chart. This is basically airport navigation function, the built-in function of this plane. It only works if you've got the Navigraph subscription. And now I can also turn right. So if you move the slider, you can see this direction is shown. You can just like go for a sharp turn or a slow turn. That's it. But otherwise, it's like one of the best planes in the Microsoft Flight Simulator, freely available by Flybywire. It automatically stopped. I didn't do anything. You can just like disconnect the tug. Let me just apply the brakes again. And the brakes are there. And let me just pause and then I can turn off the pushback system. Let me see if the tug is it getting connected or disconnected. Now it's disconnected. Okay. So now you can see this is the runway. So I'm facing in the right direction. That's it. Now it's time to turn on the engine. So APU bleed is on. Let me just also bring up this checklist. But before this, let's do one more thing. Either on this screen, on this screen. If you go to this option, serve, this is surveillance, you can turn on the transponder and the weather radar. So this is the control for the transponder. Just set it to auto and move this to TARA, which is traffic avoidance and which is traffic advisory and resolution advisory. So it's on. Weather radar, I think it's inoperable in this plane. Yeah, weather, it doesn't work. So you can just keep it like this. So let's go to FMS2 and let's bring the checklist and click. So the parking brake is there before I turn on the engines, and that's it. Takeoff speeds and thrust. This is thrust levers are in the idle position. I've entered all the takeoff speeds and everything is there. Checklist is complete, and that's it. And now I have a checklist for after start. So let's now turn on the engines. So this is the engine mode selector. Just move it to the right. Start position, and now I can turn on engine 1 and 2. Now you can see engine 1 and 2 available, so I can also turn on engine 3 and 4. And once you have the engines up and running, then the hydraulic systems will also be available. Right now you can see that for engine 1 and 2, generator fault has disappeared, but for 3 and 4 it's still there. It will also disappear once engine 3 and 4 are available. Now you can see engine 3 and 4 also available, so this fault has disappeared. With this, as now we have the engines up and running, we don't need the APU bleed and plus the APU. I can turn it off and move this engine mode selector to normal, and that's it. So now after the start checklist, let's go through it. So NTIs is not required. These are the controls for the NTI, so if it's required you can just turn it on. That's it. So let's check this item, and pitch trim is automatically adjusted. There is something really interesting in the Airbus A380 and the 50. You don't have to adjust the trim for the setting. This is actually the trimmable horizontal stabilizer at the back of the plane, which sets the pitch of the plane, whether to pitch up or down. Let me just press comma again. This is not disappearing. Very strange. Okay, so for the Airbus planes, for 350 and 380, this is automatically adjusted, so the pilots don't have to worry about that. That's it. Enter, and rudder is neutral. You have this rudder trim, so you can just like move it. This is actually the rudder. So I think it's moving right now. So it should be 0. That's it. It's there, and now the checklist is complete. That's it. So again, checklist and for the taxi. Now the flight controls, we have to carry out this check. So you will get this option over here. This is something really interesting about the Airbus planes, that as per the flight modes, you start to see different information over here. So what I can do is this. If it disappears, I can press this button, flight control, and I can get this view. And now I can just like check the elevators, then left and right for the ailerons and the rudder. That's it. So it's now complete. I can just press this button and it will disappear. Oh, it's again there. Okay. So I can just check this option and the flap settings. Let's set the flaps to position 1. because if I just go to this option, performance, you will see the flaps should be set to 1, and it's shown over here as well. That's it. Let's also set the constraints over here. Let's get the weather, although it doesn't work, so it's okay. And that's it. And the ground spoilers. So in case of rejected takeoff, you need the ground spoilers. This is the ground spoilers over here, so they help in reducing the speed. Then you have auto brake. So this is the auto brake, this one, but this is for the rejected takeoff, RTO. And that's it. So takeoff configuration, can I do the check right now? Yeah, takeoff configuration normal, checklist complete, and that's it. Now there is a checklist for the lineup. So right now not required. I can just get rid of it. And now on the upper ECAM, you can see that everything is good. So let's turn on the lights for the taxi and for the wing and for runway turn off lights, and that's it. So everything is good now. You can see all the buttons are black now, so everything is good. Now the plane is ready for the taxi. So what I'll do is this, I will just release the parking brakes, and I will just give a little bit of power. That's it. And now I can just zoom in to get the taxiways. This is actually the runway. That's it. So you just have to follow this. You can see everything is good now. Now I've pressed comma and this error has also disappeared. So the QNH is now 1001 for the takeoff, because in the previous video I was pressing comma to get the readings, but it was not disappearing. So I think there's this bug in the plane which might get fixed. I'm using the 4K development version of this plane. The speed is increasing, so let me just reduce the thrust a bit. Now the plane is near the runway. I will just hold short of the runway, and I will just configure this plane for the takeoff, and we'll give you some briefing related to the takeoff. So this is runway 30 left. I can apply the parking brakes. So over here you have to set this light to take off, and that's it. Now just go to the checklist, and you have this option lineup. So lineup, takeoff runways, both. That's it. Packs 1 and 2 on. So the packs are on. That's it. You have this control. You can just like interact with it. So the packs are on for the air conditioning. That's it. And now the checklist is complete. Now for the takeoff, what I'm going to do is this. First of all, I will change this view, and because I know where I am right now, so no need for this airport navigation. That's it. And I have to set it to arc, this option, so that I can see this. Constraints should be on. I will be able to see all the constraints during the flight for the speed and for the altitude. That's it. Now once I'm on the runway, I will give 50% of power, and then I will move the thrust levers to this option, flex to temp. This is actually a reduced thrust. So that's, I think, yeah. Now they're in the idle position. So this is where the thrust levers will be for the takeoff, not over here toga, which is take off and go around. So I will push the side stick a bit forward, as you can see, till 100 knots. This will give me a better control on the runway, and then after 100 knots I can just release this. And that's it. So let's release the parking brakes, and let's give some power. and move the plane to the runway. Just make sure that the flight director is on. And now the speed and the altitude and the heading, everything is in the manage mode. So if you just bring your cursor over here and you see the up arrow, if you press these knobs, everything will be in the manage mode. So after the takeoff, I will just take you through this manage mode and selected mode difference. Now I'm on the runway. So let's push the stick forward. And let's get 50% of power. Once the engines spool up, move to flex, and that's it. Now you can see this flex is shown over here. Brake RTO. Speed reference system is on, which is used for your vertical navigation, and that's it. And this, you can see the nav mode is armed. Now I can release side stick. This is V1 and this is VR.
V1.
And now I can rotate, slightly pull back on the stick, not more than 10 degrees. That's it. And now you have the positive rate of climb. So gears up. Now you have to actually climb in such a way that the speed remains over here. So if you want to reduce the speed, increase the vertical speed. And if the speed reduces a lot, then you have to decrease the vertical speed. So this is just to show you. So now I'm actually maintaining the vertical speed in such a way that the speed doesn't go more than this. That's it. And I have the navigation over here as well. Soon the plane will be crossing. Yeah. Now the thrust levers to climb. That's it. Now you can see the thrust levers are set to climb, and I can turn on the autopilot. And now you can see the autopilot is adjusting the vertical speed in such a way that the speed is maintained. Now you can see the vertical speed is reducing so that the speed increases. This is the speed after which I can retract the flaps. There is this constraint over here for 180 knots, after this 190 knots, and then at this point 220 knots. Weather you can see inoperable. That's it. So this is how you take this plane up in the air. Easy to do, not a difficult thing. So right now I will not retract the flaps, and plus all the lights are on, and the seatbelt signs are also on. I was about to say side seats, I don't know, tongue twister. Anyhow, and the ground spoilers will be armed. So after 10,000 feet, I will turn off the lights. Now you can see the speed is increasing. It is 190 knots. So I will just wait for some time, and then I can retract the flaps. Because at this point the speed will be 220 knots. So it will go up to this point. And that's it. Now you can see the speed is increased, so I can just now speed is increasing. You can see the vertical speed is decreasing, and I can now retract the flaps, and that's it. Now you can see the speed is increasing, and this is the green dot speed, and this is the speed at which the plane can fly without any flaps and slats. Now the vertical path is even shown over here, and the plane will actually follow this vertical path. Now what I'll do is this. I will just take you through different modes of the autopilot. So first of all, let's start with the climb rate. Right now the climb is in the manage mode. You can see climb is appearing over here. But if I bring my cursor over here, and once I see the down arrow, I press it, and now you will see open climb. Now in open climb, for any restriction, if it's there for the altitude, the plane will actually not follow that constraint. And it's also applicable for the descent. So now it's an open climb, and the plane will keep on climbing. But if I press this button again, once I see the up arrow, then now it's in the climb mode, which is the manage mode. Then there is another mode, which is the vertical speed mode. So if I bring the cursor over here, and if I press it, once I see it's not working. Yeah, now it worked. So right now you can see the vertical speed is 1000 feet per minute. In this mode, the vertical speed is the priority. So right now you can see that vertical speed is 1000 and the speed is maintained. So let's say if I increase the vertical speed, I take it up up to like 3000. Now as the vertical speed is the priority, so the speed will reduce. You can see this dot. After this, the speed will also increase, because below 10,000 feet the speed should not be more than 250 knots. So that's why it's maintained over here. So let me further increase the vertical speed. Let's say if I go for 4,700. Now you can see the climb rate is increasing and the speed is reducing, because climb rate is the priority. So if I just bring my cursor over here, once I see the up arrow, I press it again, the vertical speed will disappear and the plane will go in the manage mode. As you can see, it's there, climb, and now the vertical speed will reduce and the speed will increase. Now as you can see, this anything in this color, it's managed. And now the speed will further increase and you can see the vertical speed will decrease. So this is how you basically change different modes for the climb and for the altitude. Now for the speed, again the speed is in the manage mode. If I just press this button again, once I see the down arrow, then now it's in the selected mode. Now you can see the color has changed. If I bring it back to the manage mode, you will see this color. So this color is for the manage mode and this is for the selected mode. Now in this case the speed is the priority. So let's say if I reduce the speed, if I just take it to 250, now you can see the vertical speed is increasing. So the thrust will not change, the thrust will remain constant, but in order to reduce the speed, the plane's climb rate will increase in order to reduce the speed, and once the plane is at this speed, then the vertical speed will adjust itself so that the speed remains over here. So if you want to have an aggressive climb, so instead of using vertical speed, use this option, the speed, and then you can have a higher climb rate. Now you can see the vertical speed is getting adjusted. So in this mode, speed is the priority and vertical speed is not the priority. So I can just press this button again once I see the up arrow and it's back to the manage mode. Now you can see the color has changed and now the vertical speed is reducing. Now as I've also crossed the transition altitude, so I will change the barometric pressure to standard. I'll just bring the cursor over here. Once I see the up arrow, I will change it. And even for the second instrument, if I press it over here, it'll go to standard. And that's it. So this was related to speed as well. Now for the navigation. Right now you can see nav is shown over here. So which means the plane is actually carrying out lateral navigation. It's following the flight path. I can press this knob once I see the down arrow. If I press it, now it's in the heading mode. You can see heading is appearing over here. And the flight plan is no longer a solid line. Yeah. And now the plane is flying in the heading mode. In this mode, I can change the heading. You can see this heading button and the plane will move left and right as per the heading given over here. And at any time I can just press it again. Once I see the up arrow, the plane will start to follow the flight plan and it will be back in the manage mode. Now let's say there is a deviation from the flight plan. So what I'll do is this, I will just set the heading to 10 degrees left, and now you will see over here on the navigation display this deviation from the flight plan is shown, which is 0.2 left towards the left. So it means 0.3 nautical miles towards the left deviation from the flight plan, and it will keep on increasing because there is a huge deflection. I will further increase the heading. I will, let's say, turn further left 337 degrees. I know you can see there's a huge deflection, and this will keep on increasing because now the plane is not following the flight path. You can see it's no longer a solid line. but the plane is climbing. And now the climb rate is also the climb is also not the rate, but the climb mode is also in the open climb mode, because the plane is not following the flight plan. So that's why there is no altitude constraint. So that's why it's an open climb, and the plane will keep on climbing. Now, if I want to go back to this flight plan, I can press this button and the plane should go back, but it will not. Let me just show you. So once I see the up arrow, I press it. You can see the plane is in the nav mode, and it has started to follow this flight plan, which is interesting. Interesting feature in this plane, because in the A320 and the 21 by any builds, in the 350, if I do the stunt and I want to follow the flight plan, so I have to first of all fly the plane on heading mode, and then once I intercept this flight plan, then it goes back. But this is something really good about this plane. So if you deviate from the flight plan, you can just like go back anytime by just going back into the manage mode. That's it. So I didn't turn off the lights, so the plane is above 10,000 feet. I can turn off the lights, and that's it. And the logo, I can set it to auto, but the nav light and the beacon and the strobe will remain on throughout the flight. And I can also disarm the ground spoilers, and that's it. Now there is a discontinuity as well over here. Let me just go back to the flight plan and see. Yes, there is a discontinuity. I can delete it, and that's it. Let's see if there is any other discontinuity. No. So now the plane is back in the nav mode, and now you can see the climb is an open climb. So if I want to go back to the manage mode, I can just press this button again, and the climb is there. So now it's in the manage mode. So that's how you switch between different modes of the plane, and you just switch between vertical speed and speed in order to maintain the vertical path of the plane, which is shown over here. Right now the plane is cruising at 39,000 feet, and soon the plane will be near the top of descent, and then I have to start the descent. But before this, I have to configure this plane for the approach. So let's go to the FMS, and let's get the weather information and configure this plane for the approach. So select this option, and over here select performance and go to this tab approach. Now over here you will get this weather information. So it's there. So let's start entering this information over here. So the wind is 50 degrees, 6 knots for Islamabad International Airport. And 6. That's it. The outside temperature is 25 degrees centigrade. And the QNH is 1005. That's it. Now you have to enter the minimums and the transition altitude. So let's get the Navigraph charts required for this flight. Let's import the flight plan from SimBrief. So for the landing, it's I think 28 left or 28 right. Let me just confirm. It's 28 right for Islamabad International Airport. So let's pin this shot. That's the one. That's it. So now I have the approach plate for runway 28 right for Islamabad International Airport. Now let's go to performance, and over here let's enter the minimums. So for ILS, its decision height is 200 feet above the runway. The runway elevation from the sea level is 1,750. So if you add 200 to it, it will be 1,950 in terms of barrow. Remember this thing that once you are entering the minimums, don't use the radio, because it's a method in which the plane sends radio signals to the ground and it gets the reading. So if the ground is uneven, you will not have the correct altitude reading. So always use the barometric pressure. So it's 1950. So let's enter 1950 over here, and that's it. And the transition altitude will be, let's see if I can get it from here. it's 12,000 feet. So over here it's flight level 140, so I will change it to 120, which is 12,000 feet. The landing will be with the full flaps, and the approach speed is 138 knots. That's it. So it's really simple to configure this plane for the approach. Now I will keep this approach plate over here because as a beginner I would just like to take you through a few things. For the descent I will set 3,700 feet as the target altitude because it is the altitude at which the plane will be intercepting this glide slope. So this point BTR is 10 nautical miles before the runway, and from here the plane will go to this point D6.0. This is actually 6 nautical miles before the runway, and from here the plane will start to follow the glide slope. When you are carrying out an ILS approach and landing, there is this ground-based device which actually directs the plane to the runway. It also carries out the lateral and the vertical navigation. The lateral navigation is carried out using this button localizer, and if you want to follow the localizer and you want to also follow this glide path, then you need this button approach. So then the plane actually follows this glide slope. So this is the vertical path the plane will follow in order to land, and that's it. The ILS frequency is mentioned over here with the identifier IBIP. So let's even check whether we have this frequency over there in FMS. So you can either select this option navigate from here, or you can just like select from here initialization, and then you can go to navigate. Now you can see the identifier is there, IBIP, and the frequency is also there, 110.7. That's it, and the course is 278. So right now this is not correct. It's actually 278 degrees. So let me just fix it. Click over here and just enter 278 and press enter, and that's it. It goes to 281. 278. Let me just try again. That's strange. So I think it's a bug. We can just keep it like this, otherwise it changes. That's it. So now we have the information for the weather, for the approach, and the ILS frequencies over there as well. I can get the checklist on this screen. Oh, actually I've been flying the Airbus A380 a lot, so you get the checklist over here. Checklist is for this plane it's over here. My bad. Let's select it. So let's keep it over here, and once I will start the descent and the plane crosses the transition altitude at which I will change the barometric pressure from the standard to the given one, then I will just start going through this checklist. But as soon as I will start the descent, I will turn on the seatbelt signs, and below 10,000 feet I will turn on all the lights for the landing, and plus I will also configure this plane for the approach and for the landing. Still there is some distance to cover. So let's wait for the plane to reach this point. Then I can start the descent. I can set the altitude over here to 3,700. So if I press this outer knob, you can see the units will change from 1,000 to 100. So let's keep 3,700 over here, and that's it. Now I will just keep the approach plate over here as well, just to take you through a few things during the approach and the landing. Now the plane is near the top of descent, so I can start the descent. So bring your cursor over here. As soon as you see the up arrow, just press it, and then the plane will descend in the manage mode. As you can see, descent is appearing over here, and you see this arrow, the zigzag one. It means that by this point the plane will actually be following this vertical flight plan. So right now you can see this dotted line. It's slightly below than the flight plan because I started the descent bit early. You can also see this green dot over here, which is an indicator for your vertical path, how much deviation is there. So right now there is a deviation and we are lower than the vertical path. But if this green dot is over here, it means you're higher than this given or calculated vertical path. It should be over here at the middle. So by this point, this green dot will come in the middle. Now the descent has started. So for descent, there are two options. Either you go for a managed descent or a selected descent. Or selected descent is also known as the open descent. So if I bring my cursor over here, and when I see the down arrow, if I press it, then you will see over here on the flight mode annunciator, which is FMA, open descent. Now in this type of descent, the plane will just keep on descending, and if there is any altitude constraint, then it will not follow the constraint. And now you can see it will just keep on descending, and it will not follow this vertical path. That's it. So let's go back to the manage mode. Let's bring the cursor over here. As soon as you see the up arrow, just press it, and now the plane will follow this vertical path. That's it. Now the altitude for the descent is 3,700, but you can see this altitude over here, flight level 60, which is 6,000 feet. There is this constraint at this point, ISDO. It's appearing in the magenta color. So on your prime flight display and the navigation display, anything appearing in the magenta color is the managed mode. And in cyan color, it's selected mode. That's it. So right now you can see this altitude constraint is also locked. So the plane will actually level off at 6,000 feet. Now you can see the plane is higher than the vertical path. But anyhow, this will just keep on happening. If I just zoom in, you will see a very high descent rate because the plane is trying to, follow this vertical path. And now this green dot is moving in the middle. So the vertical speed will get set. I can also turn on the seatbelt signs, and below 10,000 feet I will turn on all the lights for the landing. That's it. Now let's wait for the plane to cross the transition altitude, and once the plane crosses the transition altitude, then I will just take you from there. Now soon the plane will be below 12,000 feet, so I will change the barometric pressure from the standard to the current one, and that's it. Now you can see it's blinking, so just move your cursor over here. As soon as you see the down arrow, just press it, and that's it. And if I press comma, I will get the current readings 1005. So let's check what is over here. If you go to the performance, you will see 1005, which is correct. So I will keep this page over here. Now the speed will reduce as well over here at this point. As you can see, this magenta circle. It's moving forward because the vertical speed is adjusting because really cloudy in Islamabad right now. Now as the plane is below 10,000 feet, so I can turn on the lights, nose light, and that's it. I can also turn on the logo. The seatbelt signs are already on, and barorev. So let's check this option, and minimums I've entered. Auto brake, so I can set the auto brake to position 3. Actually, I'm using the Thrustmaster TCA quadrant, and for this I have to use the controller to adjust the speed, adjust the brakes, not the speed, for the landing. So the brakes are now set. So auto brake is set, and checklist complete. Now let's bring another checklist, and for the landing, that's it. Landing gear down, ground spoilers. I will arm the ground spoilers, and that's it. Now the thrust levers are also configured on my Thrustmaster TCA quadrant, but if the reverse thrust is not active, is not on your controllers, you can keep on pressing F. The F actually reduces the thrust, and if you keep on pressing it during the landing, the reverse thrust will be active. So you can use F and R for the thrust levers. This is the default setting. Great. So now I can also press this button LS, and you can see the ILS frequency over here and the distance to the runway. I can do another thing. If I go to this option flight plan, from here, and if I go to this option and fix info, and if I enter OPIS to it right, let me just do it again. Let me just enter OPIS. I'll show you one thing. It right. So this is the runway, and if I enter 10 nautical miles of radius over here, then you will see on the flight plan, once the plane turns, you will see this. I think, can we see it right? Yeah, this is a 10 nautical miles radius, because this is the point at which I will start extending the flaps. That's it. So it's really interesting. Now the plane is turning. Another thing that I can do is this. If I, let's say, enter 98 over here, I'll just show you this trick over here, radial, 98. Then you will also see an extended line for the approach. So let's say if you are not using this manage mode for the navigation, if you're using heading mode, you will know when to intercept the localizer. So this is also a good option in this plane, although you can do it in any Airbus. That's it. Now the ILS indicators are over here, and let me just turn this airplane indicator. Now you can see it has crossed ISRO, and now the plane is going for 3,700. It's in cyan color, so it means it's an input by the pilot, not by the flight plan. Another thing, in the flight plan, anything with this star sign in magenta color, it means the plane will actually follow these constraints. But if it's appearing in orange color, then it means the plane will not follow these constraints for the speed and for the altitude. Right now you can see it's in magenta color, so the plane will actually follow all these constraints. And that's it. Now if I go back to performance, you can see the speed is not reducing. I can further reduce the speed, and if I press this button, activate approach and confirm, now the speed will reduce. As you can see, the plane is near this 10 nautical miles circle. Now in this method, when you activate approach, the plane's speed will reduce, but it will not go below this point, which is the green dot speed. This is the speed at which the plane can fly without any flaps and slats. So the speed will not go below this because I haven't extended the flaps. Now you can see the plane is lining with the runway, and that's it. I can also activate approach. This will enable the plane to follow the localizer and the glide slope. Now you can see plane currently is in the nav mode, but the localizer is armed, and the descent is also in the manage mode, but the glide slope is locked. So once this diamond is in the middle, the plane will actually start to follow the glide slope, and it is now also following the localizer. That's it. Now I can set the flaps to position 1, and now you can see the speed will reduce. You can see flaps set to position 1, ground spoilers are armed, everything is good. And you can see this approach speed is also appearing over here, 139 knots in magenta color, which is an indication that is as per the flight plan. Now you can see the plane is following the glide slope and it's following the localizer. So the plane is no longer in the nav mode and the descent mode, rather localizer and glide slope. Now the auto brake is also set to 3. That's it. If I press autopilot 2, this plane will actually auto land. But in order to activate autopilot 2, you should first activate approach and then autopilot 2. Now on the FMA you will see Cat 3 dual. It means it's category 3 approach, and dual means both the autopilots are active. As you can see, autopilot 1 and 2 is active, and flight director 1 and 2 is on. Auto throttle is there. That's it. Now the plane is
2,500.
Yeah, that's it. Now you can see 8 nautical miles, so I can set the flaps to position 2. You can see the flap set to position 2, and that's it. Just 6 nautical miles before the runway, I will lower the gears. It's raining in Islamabad. Interesting. Although it's 8 p.m. in Pakistan right now, but I've changed the time. Because, initially I just used to do some flights in the night, but some of the subscribers, they complained that in the night things are not so visible. So that's why I've now started recording all the flights in the morning, in the daytime. So I've just changed the time, but the weather is real. And there is this video on my channel in which I have the same weather. I was doing this flight with Etihad Airways. Now, 6 nautical miles, so I can lower the gears. So this was an interesting flight. Lots of clouds. It's in the real life, not in the simulator. It's there on my channel. If you want to go, you can just search for it. So the gears are now down and now 4.5 nautical miles away. So I can just fully extend the flaps. Now you can see the checklist is complete. So I can just complete the checklist and that's it. Now on the ECAM you will also see seatbelt signs on, landing gear down, and ground spoilers armed, flaps are landing, set for landing, and all the lights are on. So everything is good now. So this is an auto land. So once the plane will perform a flare, this is actually a very short phase in the flight where the nose of the plane is pitched up by the autopilot during the landing. I will move the thrust levers to idle, and once the plane touches the runway, then I will activate the reverse thrust. So right now everything is good. Hopefully it's going to be a good landing. I'm taking a risk. I've tried 1 or 2 times the auto land, but it didn't work. So let's see if it works today. So now you can see land is appearing over here. Tailwinds.
Minimum.
And now you can see
50,
flare will appear.
40,
And now flare. 30 and just
10,
move the
5.
and I can now activate. Oops. So slightly going towards the right side. So I have just taken the control. Now below 80 knots I can deactivate the reverse thrust. That's it. And now I can also deactivate the auto brakes. Although they are disconnected automatically, but I had to also do it on my controller. And this is how you land the plane. With this I can retract the flaps, apply the brakes, and take the next exit. I can get the airport charts over here. You can see the terminal. Let's also turn on the APU, because when I will park at the gate, there will be no GPU. I have to connect it. So I will turn off the engines, then I will have some power from the APU. Once the GPU is connected, then I will switch the power to external. So this is Islamabad International Airport. I have actually purchased it. The default one is not that good. Let me just give some more power. Hopefully I will get a parking. I don't know, every time when you land at an airport in the Microsoft Flight Simulator 24, all the gates have got planes. And this happened to me a few days back as well when I was doing a complete walkthrough for this plane. All the gates had planes. Is there any free parking? I think this one. So the APU is now available. That's it. This gate also has a plane. And what about the next one? think I can park over here. This one is empty. So let's turn left. Oops. You have to apply brakes in order to have a good control over the plane. I've actually reduced the graphics to medium, that's why the tug was appearing like this. Actually, with this plane, there is some issue with the graphics card. Now I can just like stop and apply the parking brakes. You can see the parking brakes now there. And now I can turn off the lights. That's it, and I can turn off the engines. And now I can also turn off the seatbelt signs, no smoking signs, and exit. That's it. Oxygen supply for the crew off, and let's turn off all the fuel pumps. That's it. Now, if you go over here, ground services, you can connect the GPU, and then you can connect the jet bridge, and then you can call for the baggage and for the catering. Now you can see the jetway is getting connected, and as I have the external power available, so I can switch to external power and I can turn off the APU. And now I can turn off the beacon, no longer required. Nav, you can keep it on. Logo, you can keep it on. Now there's this checklist as well. So let's go through the checklist. So after the landing, parking brake and chocks. Chocks are there? No. So I can just like check it. And wing lights, they're off. Yeah, that's it. Fuel pumps off and checklist complete. Now you can make another flight plan and then you can just like carry out another flight, or if you want to just like secure the aircraft, you can just like go through this checklist and that's it. Electronic flight bag off, batteries off, and that's it. Okay, now the thrust levers are good. So this was a video related to ILS approach and landing. Hopefully it was a good one for you, and now you will be able to fly this plane and land it using ILS approach and landing. I will also do another video in which I will show you how to perform an R&P approach. So if you've got any questions, you can ask me in the comment section, or if you want to add anything to this video, the comment section is there for you. Thank you very much for watching it. Have a nice day. Hope to see you soon.